Good afternoon. I will reconvene the regular meeting of the Board of Lane County Commissioners for Tuesday, June 25th. We have before us, to kick off the afternoon, a couple of items from Health and Human Services. For folks who may have been checking our agenda in the last few days, we have split item 10A into two items so that Commissioner Buck can recuse from discussion or votes on contracts involving St. Vincent de Paul. So if you are following online, you might need to refresh your browser to see the new order numbers, but all of the content of the orders are the same. They've just been split into two separate ones. And so with that preface, I will turn it over to our Director of Health and Human Services, Eve Gray, to introduce the item. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. So it is that time of year where the fiscal year turns over and we have to re-enliven a whole lot of contracts. So you will see, I believe, 23 amendments, if memory serves me correctly. There are some new contracts on here as well. A lot of this is new contracts related to services that have been provided. So some related to homelessness, some related to the complementary and alternative medicine services that we provide in the Federally Qualified Health Center. There is a contract for electric generators direct, which you may wonder about. This is a grant that we received through the Oregon Department of Human Services to assist with climate-related devices for people who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. So we really will be getting generators and air conditioners and that sort of thing to assist with climate resiliency. And I think that covers those new contracts. Certainly happy to answer questions on any of them.
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments from the board? All right. We do have two orders before us, so the first one we are ready for a motion.
Thank you, Chair. I move to approve 9 contracts and 23 amendments and delegating authority to the county administrator or their designee to sign the approved actions per board order 24062515.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Senega. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify with an aye or a raised hand. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Approval of Order 24-06-25-15 in the matter of approving 9 contracts and 23 amendments and delegating authority to the county administrator or their designee to sign the approved contracts. Thank you. And now the rest of the story.
Yes, so the remaining contracts are for St. Vincent de Paul. 2 of them are related to an access center to provide services for houseless families as well as single adults, and then 1 is a continuation of services that they already provide for us.
Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for being able to split these items out. I am going to declare a conflict of interest on these items since I am related to the Executive Director Emeritus of St. Vincent de Paul, who is still employed there. So I will turn off my video and mute myself while you all proceed with this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So are there any questions for staff on these items? Seeing none.
Chair, I move to approve 2 contracts, 1 amendment with St. Vincent de Paul and delegating authority to the county administrator or their designee to sign the approved actions per board order 24062517.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Senega. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Buck recused. Order 24-06-25-17 in the matter of approving 2 contracts and 1 amendment with St. Vincent de Paul and delegating authority to the county administrator or their designee to sign the approved actions. Thank you, Director Gray. Moving right along. We are on item 11A under County Administration, and this is a new contract, or a contract amendment to Amoresco, I assume. We'll get that corrected. If not, I'll welcome David Ward, our Capital Planning and Facilities Management Manager, to the table to tell us about this item. Welcome.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Commissioner Trieger, Chair Trieger, Vice Chair Laval, and Commissioners. So in March of 2022, the board approved the award of a contract to Amoresco, and at the time, their main focus was to provide an entire comprehensive audit of all of our facilities, and at that time to also propose some potential energy-saving projects, varying with different buildings, trying to highlight projects that they felt would be the best return on our investment over time. And that included mechanical projects, electrical projects, plumbing, controls work, some PV projects as well. And during late 2023, the Facility Standing Committee reviewed the list of projects and made a recommendation that we try to align the projects that we were going to focus on relative to projects that had either already been identified under the capital improvement plan or would potentially provide more benefit in the next couple of years if we were to implement those. And so between December of last year and February, during the winter meetings that we had with the Facility Standing Committee, we determined that out of all the projects that we had looked at, the most that had aligned with the CIP were relative to these lighting projects. And there was a list of these lighting projects initially, and the CIP included just a half dozen. After we started looking at the total projects that were recommended, we determined that if we had the opportunity to perform all these, we could leverage incentive money from our local utility, EWEB, by completing and prioritizing those buildings that would give us the biggest return on investment during this year through December, and are pursuing, along with EWEB, to see if they will actually lengthen the amount of time that we're able to obtain those incentives. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things based on your consideration of this board order today. First, the installation of high-efficiency LED lighting across all of our buildings is a strategic move to reduce the energy consumption across our entire building portfolio. And it lowers our carbon footprint as a county, and that supports the intent of our county's adopted climate action plan in a very real way. And second, this particular project aligns with the Climate Action Plan Phase 2 that was outlined under Community Greenhouse Gas Mitigation Action Plan, and specifically Action Item EE-A1 under the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Measures. And it also supports the county's strategic priority of robust infrastructure. So again, this is an opportunity for us to do a project that provides concrete results, measured savings, guaranteed savings, and the opportunity to articulate the results of this project during the next year and beyond, and not only internally to the county, but also to our general public. So the funding for this is anticipated through the capital fund. If all of the utility incentives or rebates are realized by, that's provided by our local utility, that's up to about $200,000 if we retrofit all the facilities that were listed. And the guaranteed energy savings for the first year following the project is about $213,000 at the current baseline utility rates. And it's important to understand that those savings are going to be year over year in perpetuity, as long as we maintain the same replacements. So again, we had originally identified a long list of buildings. We wanted to prioritize within the Facility Standing Committee meeting about a half dozen buildings that will give us, again, the best benefit this year. Those include the Public Service Building Complex, the LCAC Jail, the Juvenile Justice Center, Lane County Behavioral Health, and the Charnelton Clinic. So, for an example, the PSB complex currently our baseline cost as of 2022 was $362,000 a year, just in energy costs. Now, a lot of that's related to the central plant infrastructure, and that'll be for a different discussion, but this particular project will save us, just in electrical savings, it's estimated about $15,000 a year just for the lighting bulb replacement in our public service building. At the jail, that translates to about $38,000 in annual savings. The Juvenile Justice Center, $59,000, and so on and so forth. So again, one of the points I think, one of the questions potentially is why aren't we doing this with internal resources? And for some sense of resource, we have 10 facilities management staff, and typically they're assigned to preventive maintenance and related repairs. So that would amount to about 1.1 million square feet per tradesperson that we have. So consider the Charlton Clinic at 80,000 square feet, the Juvenile Justice Center at 114,000 square feet. This would be tantamount to one of our tradespersons managing like the Juvenile Justice Center in its entirety by themselves over our whole portfolio. So again, it would be a real strain on to try to consider how do we manage this both in time frame and be able to realize those savings as soon as possible if we relied on our own staff instead of working with our contracted firm. So, any questions?
Great, to the board, any questions for staff? Thank you for that particular point about why not do it in-house, because I'm hearing you as far as capacity, but also then that takes away from their availability and ability to service what's already in their portfolio. So that was helpful. I don't see any other, Commissioner Farr.
Thanks. You mentioned a series of dollar amount per year savings. Do you have a total dollar amount per year savings, adding all those up?
Yeah, so the total amount of savings represented by this project is, and so there's a guaranteed savings. The guaranteed, I did have that here.
I see the kilowatt hour guaranteed, but not.
Yeah, so the guaranteed savings after the first year, if we do all the buildings, is $213,000 at the current baseline utility rates.
213. Okay. So the real benefit of this isn't saving money because we're spending a lot of money to save a little bit of money. The real benefit is the fact that we are reducing our energy consumption.
Correct.
That's where the real nugget is in the is it a $3.2 million contract?
Yeah, the return on investment for the entire portfolio, estimated again, we have a guaranteed savings through this project, but the estimated savings based on the return on investment is between 6 and 10 years for the entire portfolio. So it becomes a fairly easy project when you consider that, within 10 years it will have paid for itself.
Within 10 years, at $200,000 a year, which is 2 point. Okay. All right.
And there's a maintenance savings component there too, so that our tradespeople aren't having to go and replace fluorescent light bulbs, which as of the beginning of this year became unavailable in the industry. So we're in a sense forced to move forward to LED, which is a good thing, but this also is our being able to articulate that savings that's realized through this project.
That satisfies. Thanks. Good answers.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Senega.
Yeah, those are all great questions, Commissioner Farr, and being part of the Facility Standing Committee, I think, Commissioner Lovell also, we've learned more about light bulbs in the last year and a half than I ever expected to. So, there's been an amazing amount of work that's gone into getting this project to this point, so really do appreciate it, Mr. Ward.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, just real quick. David, I'm super stoked about this. Even in our buildings that we develop, LED lighting is the way to go. You don't have to replace them as often. They last usually, like I said, 5 to 10 years, and the savings is incredible. So good for you. It's awesome. Good job.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. No more questions or comments from the board. Do I have a motion?
Chair, I move to award a contract amendment to Amoresco, Inc. in the not-to-exceed amount of $3,230,060 to replace all existing non-LED lighting to high-efficiency LED lighting at multiple Lane County facilities and delegate authority to the county administrator to execute the contract amendment.
I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Senega to approve the order. Or is there any discussion to the motion? Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Chair. And one thing I didn't mention is that amount does include materials as well,
It's
not just the savings. Yeah.
all inclusive.
Yeah.
Yes, materials, labor, engineering, and commissioning.
Well, I echo the enthusiasm. How much does it cost government to change a light bulb? Well, that's not the question, is it?
Great. Then I will call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the order to award the contract amendment signify with an aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Approval of Order 24-06-25-16 in the matter of awarding a contract amendment to Amoresco, Inc. in the amount of $3.23060 to replace all existing non-LED lighting to high-efficiency LED lighting, etc., as published. Thank you all very much. Thank you so much for the work. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioners.
And the final item on our calendar before we move into executive session is from our Office of County Counsel. I'll welcome Steve Thiel to the table. And this is our regular update and report on the FCIT, or Fatal Crash Investigation Team. So this is a report only. No board action is required. And there's a panel from our public safety team as well, so I'll leave it to the panel to introduce themselves, or Mr. Thiel to introduce folks. I'm not sure what you all have worked out, but welcome, and we're happy to have you here.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Yes, I'm Steve Thiel, Assistant County Counsel. Presenting with me today, we have Sergeant Colt Parker of the Sheriff's Office, Becky Taylor from Public Works Engineering, and Louise Pimentel from Public Health. As you may recall, the Fatal Crash Investigation Team, or FCIT, works under County Council relative to legal liability for Lane County with collisions, in regard to collisions on our roads. And the team now reports to the board twice a year. Team was created in 2017 when the board adopted the county's Transportation Safety Action Plan and made a commitment to work toward 0 deaths. The Fatal Crash Investigation Team includes staff from multiple county departments, the Sheriff's Office, Public Works Department, and Public Health Division, collectively representing the 5 safety E elements. Thank you. They are equity, emergency response, enforcement, engineering, and education. That all those 5 need to work together toward 0 deaths. And so with that, I'll pass it off to Sergeant Parker.
No, that's a mute to press it, so it's on if you don't press it.
Oh, there's a light. Well, as you can see, we have this graph up here, and since we started this work, the number of fatal crashes in Lane County on county roads has only fluctuated. You may have seen the slide on a couple occasions, and we continue to report a discouraging trend. Our efforts to really influence any change has been severely limited by our resource constraints. As you know, the Sheriff's Office doesn't have a traffic team. Lane County is one of 2 counties, Marion was the first, that took advantage of the Safety Corridor Pilot Program created by the Oregon Legislature. It's uncertain at this time whether the legislature will enable an extension of this program or if it'll sunset as scheduled later on this year. Our report to the legislature recommends continuance and for additional state resources to implement programs such as enforcement and education. This program has demonstrated how even the perception of enforcement and doubling of traffic fines has resulted in fewer people speeding and dying on London Road. Since the 2021 designation, there have been no deaths on this portion of London Road designated as a safety corridor. Whereas in previous years, London Road had the record for the most fatalities under any other county jurisdiction. The real influence of the safety corridor on traffic safety is the large signs posted about fees doubling. That seems to be a real deterrent to the driving behaviors that contribute to fatal crashes. Actual enforcement has been dependent on availability of deputies to work overtime shifts. The Sheriff's Office routinely secures grants to reimburse us for that such overtime.
For engineering, as you know, our road fund only enables preservation and maintenance activities, whereas we're dependent on uncertain grant sources for safety projects. Most of our roads lack basic shoulders for multimodal safety. We continue to pursue and advocate for resources to provide more interventions to save lives lost on our roads. On the engineering front, Lane County follows the National Strategy on Safety, which uses a safe system approach. The safe system approach encompasses the elements of the 4 E's: enforcement, education, emergency response, and engineering, and it refocuses efforts on reducing death and serious injury through accommodating human mistakes and reducing impact forces to tolerable levels.
Thank you.
So I'm going to give kind of a brief overview of the National Safe System Approach. So the Safe System Approach was founded on the principle that no one should be killed or injured when using the road system. A commitment to zero traffic deaths also means addressing all aspects of safety through the 5 elements that together create a holistic approach when layers of protection for road users. So those 5 key elements are on the inside of the circle, and the outside of the circle is the principles that I'll go into another slide. But the elements are safe road users, which recognize and addresses the safety of all road users, that include those who walk, bike, drive, or ride transit. Safe vehicles that are designed and regulated to minimize the frequency and severity of collisions using safety measures that incorporate current technology. Safe roads, so reducing speeds that decrease serious injuries in 3 ways: by reducing impact forces, providing additional time for drivers to stop, and improving visibility. Safe roads, road designs can accommodate human mistakes and reduce severity of crashes that do occur. This could include physically separating people traveling at different speeds, and maybe using alerting users to hazards, such as what we see in crosswalks. And post-crash care. People who are injured in collisions rely on emergency first responders. Thank you. Who rely on emergency first responders to quickly locate, stabilize their injuries, and transport them to medical facilities. Post-crash care also includes the analysis at the crash site and traffic management. Next slide. Thank you. So unlike traditional approaches that often react to crashes, the Safe System approach proactively designs and manages the transportation system to minimize the consequences of road use errors. Here on this slide is the 6 core principles of the Safe System approach. And we're going to also continue this discussion of the different principles and elements throughout the presentation, but the first one is deaths and serious injuries are unacceptable. No one should be killed or injured when using the road system. Humans make mistakes. The Safe System approach expects that the road system is planned, designed, and used to be forgiving of these mistakes so that serious injuries are unlikely to occur. Humans are vulnerable. People will have a limited ability to endure crash impacts. Applying the Safe System approach largely depends on managing the kinetic energy of crashes to avoid injury. Responsibility is shared, so road safety is not the sole responsibility of a single entity. It requires collaboration among policymakers, engineers, public health, law enforcement, and the public. So engaging communities in safety planning and decision-making process really ensures that solutions are encouraging safe road use. Safety is proactive, so this involves identifying and addressing risks before they result in crashes. This would include using crash data to assess high-risk areas and implement safety measures in advance. And redundancy is crucial. So this principle emphasizes the importance of multiple layers of protection. If one safety measure fails, others should be in place to prevent a crash or mitigate its severity. So whenever we talk about planning or programming, we also want to discuss equity. So the goal of the Safe System approach is to ensure safe, accessible, affordable, reliable, and healthy mobility that facilitates social and economic opportunities and meets the needs of all community members, particularly those identified as underserved, disadvantaged, or overburdened. As you may recall, in the 2017 Lane County Transportation System Plan, fatal crashes disproportionately impacted rural communities, with the fatality rate being 2.5 times greater than that the Eugene-Springfield urban area. So under equity, the specific historical and present-day circumstances and abilities of individuals and communities are taken into consideration to provide an appropriate solution that provide everyone with opportunities to live safe and healthy lives. Safe for people, again, within the elements of the Safe System approach, falls under those safe road users. And once more, this recognizes and addresses the safety of all road users, including those who walk, bike, drive, or ride transit. We want to encourage safe, responsible driving and behavior to people who use our roads. People generally use the road system in a safe manner on any given trip, but mistakes, lapse in judgment, and other at-risk behaviors still occur. So the 3 most frequent and persistent behavioral safety factors in fatal crashes nationally, and what we see here locally as well too, is people in motor vehicles are not wearing their seatbelts, driving while impaired of alcohol and other substances, and speeding. So these at-risk behaviors really point back to the importance of the elements and the principles of the safe system approach. That safety is a culture in our road system. Investments are based on that culture. That road safety is not the sole responsibility of any single entity, but requires collaboration among policymakers, again, engineers, public health, law enforcement, and the public.
There is a direct relationship between the speed at which a vehicle is traveling and the likelihood of survival for the person being hit. 9 out of 10 pedestrians are likely to survive if hit by a vehicle traveling around 20 miles an hour. However, at higher speeds, especially around 60 miles an hour, only 1 in 10 pedestrians could survive an impact like that. At the last FCIT report, you may recall you had a presentation from our traffic engineer about crash kinetic energy. The reminder here is that there are roadway features that can protect people.
Traffic incident management is an umbrella term for the actions of those who respond to a crash, including law enforcement, emergency medical care, towing and recovery, and more. First responders must be able to quickly access a collision site, establish communications among responding parties, set up traffic control to keep ourselves and the public safe, and complete various tasks to return the roadway to its normal operation. The Fatal Crash Investigation Team combines information from the Sheriff's Office and Public Works to ensure crash factors are documented. Data collection and documentation of road user behavior and infrastructure can help lead to a greater understanding of the holistic safety landscape. After the immediate crash response, there are further parts of a safe system that help achieve safety goals. One of those being media. Media coverage of crashes and safety can vary. The county's PIOs help spread safety information in public service announcements and press releases. Engineering. Feedback from crash investigations and first responders help road managers address road safety in planning, design, and maintaining the roadways. And lastly, the justice system can also mitigate the risk of future crashes through its actions.
All of our safety elements need to work together to create layers of protection. The graphic on this slide shows the Swiss cheese model to demonstrate this redundancy in which holes represent weaknesses causing failures. Our greatest weakness in reducing roadway fatalities is not having sufficient resources to implement these interventions. As you've heard from our team today, we are dependent on securing grant funding to make roadway engineering safety improvements and to provide overtime traffic enforcement. To close with more promising news, we received federal grant funding from the Safe Streets and Roads for All program to update our transportation safety action plan. This planning effort is currently underway and will be launched with community this summer. We'll continue to provide you with updates about that effort. The promising news is that with an updated safety plan, we'll be eligible to seek implementation funding from the SS4A, the Safe Streets for All program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If I could ask you to take the presentation down, just makes it a little easier to keep track of virtual participants. Thank you so much for the presentation and for ending it on a more hopeful, forward-looking note. I'll turn it over to the board for comments, questions. Vice Chair.
Just kind of a loose comment. It still astounds me after all this time. I mean, even since I was 16 and got my license, people still don't wear their seatbelts. I mean, where does that come from? I mean, it seems like that culture would have bred itself out by now, and that would have been just a norm. But it just kind of, it just baffles me that that's still. Sarge, you might have a comment about that?
You see a mix of people doing that, age groups. There's anybody and everybody will either forget to do it or they're purposely just not wearing it. I don't know the reason why, but everybody does it. So.
If anybody's ridden a roller coaster, the importance of a seatbelt, it can't be overemphasized, right? And your car is a lot like that if it gets out of control. So,
yes.
Wow, great. Well, thank you for all you do. Good job.
I have, before I call in Commissioner Buck, I see she has her hand, but just as a follow-on to that, does that mean completely not wearing, because I know there are a lot of people that will move the shoulder strap part behind them but keep the lap belt on, and a lot of that, I will just add, having recently read a book, it's often, seatbelts are tested and cars are designed for a particular average body type, and that tends to be the average male, which is a different height and body proportion than women. So does not wearing a seatbelt mean no engagement of the seatbelt, or does it include improper fit or usage of a
It
seatbelt?
includes improper fit, but we don't see that as often as we do just not wearing it in any form. It's more of a rarity.
Great, thanks. Commissioner Buck?
Thank you, Chair. You had a screen up earlier of the deaths so far, but they only went to 2022. I was wondering if you had the data for 23 and so far in 24.
That's unofficial data. The data that we receive that's considered official has been quality checked through Oregon Department of Transportation is current only to 2022. We can provide the board with preliminary information about fatalities on county-specific roads for more current years. But the overall trend is that we're not seeing a significant reduction in fatal crashes.
Thank you for that. And although that's challenging and hard to hear because we want to see the deaths go down, I do want to appreciate that we're not seeing any more deaths on the road so far, with that being the safety corridor. How much longer can we anticipate that being part of the safety corridor? I do get concerned that once it's no longer designated as a safety corridor and have the additional resources, that things could go back to the way that they were.
Sorry, Chair Traeger, for just jumping in without being acknowledged, if I may answer the question. So the fatal crash investigation team has decided that we would leave the signs that say safety corridor up because we've checked with Oregon Department of Transportation, which manages the safety corridor program. They've indicated that by law, the only thing that needs to be taken down is the fees doubling. And so by law, we have to have those removed by early July, mid-July-ish. But we don't have plans to remove the safety corridor signage at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Farr and then Commissioner Senegal.
Thank you, Chair Trigger. You know, that kind of goes along with what I was going to state. When I'm driving, I don't want to speed. And I would presume that most people don't want to speed. And I see that speeding is one of the greatest causes, probably the greatest cause of fatalities in accidents. Lane departure sometimes is often associated with speeding. And what helps me, and I think it helps everybody, is something that Becky Taylor, you've talked about throughout these reports through the years, that if you're reminded to slow down, usually people say, oh, wow, and slow down. So the more ways we can remind people to slow down, for instance, the easy one is you enter a school zone, the light flashes, and your speed 37, speed limit 20, well, I'm going down to 20 immediately. And I presume that people are the same way. So the same thing applies to the safety corridor signs. That's another reminder to people who really don't want to speed. Some people do, perfunctorily, and some people have a reason in their mind to speed, but most people don't want to speed, and if they're reminded. For instance, I drive my pickup, and I know how fast I'm going. I drive my wife's Mini Cooper, and I have no clue how fast I'm going until I look at the speed 95. No, never 95. But that being said, the reminder, even if it's not a school zone, different places throughout the county, if we randomly put up signs that say your speed, I think that has a dramatic effect. And I think, to Commissioner Buck's question regarding London Road, that's a pretty dramatic result from the record number of deaths to 0. And we hope to continue at 0, as Commissioner Buck says. And I think the reminder, even without the double fine sign, just reminds people to slow down. So I think keeping that up, and if we're going to invest in more your speed signs, I think that will help in different areas. The other thing, Sergeant Parker, that we talk about quite often is we don't have adequate traffic patrol. Correct. One of the last tickets I got many, many years ago was by a sheriff's deputy on River Road, and I didn't have my seatbelt fastened. By gosh, I've fastened my seatbelt every time since because I couldn't afford that $28 at the time. But that being said, if we have more police vehicles, then it's just a reminder for people to slow down, and not just enforcing the law, but reminding people once again to slow down. And I know that Commissioner Trigger, Chair Trigger, you sometimes go to Yahas. I know this. And they used to put a police car right at the city limits on the south end of Yahas. There was never anybody in it. And people who knew that it was just a police car. But you know what it did to me? It made me look at my speedometer every single time. So these reminders are valuable and effective. Thanks.
Mr. Seneca.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So a couple of things. Commissioner Buck was talking about it, that graph. Do we know why the deaths were so high in 15 and what caused them to start dropping in those years? I think it started at 2015 and went down.
Yeah, I don't have a specific answer to that couple year period. And there can be a number of things that make this fluctuate. The design of vehicles over the years have become much safer. So, I mean, we're getting the same amount of crashes, we're just not seeing as serious or fatal crashes because of design of the vehicles. Roadway engineering is improving. There's just more stuff being done in that regard. So there's so many things that impact it. We're trying to figure out what is impacting it most. So it's hard to have a solid answer for you on that.
Gotcha. I didn't know if maybe there was some sort of traffic plan implemented or something that we could actually point to, but it was probably just a couple of things that came to fruition at that point. And I don't even know how people drive without their seatbelts on. I mean, I can't get out of my driveway without that thing going bonkers. So I don't. It's like they almost have to want to defy the law. Must be the rebel side, but yeah, no. Those were just kind of my quick questions, and I was thinking if you have to take the fines double sign off, I wonder if you could say safety corridor fines enforced or something like that. Just, really, because it does grab your attention when people see that stuff. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Well, I will just say I was surprised when you threw the 3 most frequent safety factors that distracted driving wasn't one of them. Maybe that's number 4. But yeah, that really surprised me. And maybe that's about, because that was for fatal crashes, not all crashes. Okay, so that probably is a lot of quick corrections, which then but yeah, that surprised me quite a bit that wasn't up there. Is that number do you have the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and is that number 4?
Good question, Chair Trigger. I don't know what the 4th and 5th is, but something we can look up and make a more comprehensive kind of list. Maybe in our next FCIT update, give you a couple more where distracted driving, where it lands on that list, because it is something that as a FCIT group we have tried to address through we have traffic newsletters that we try to remind folks about distracted driving. There's a distracted driving month that we do, try to social media campaigns and just different messaging out in the community just to remind folks. I do also want to point out that the London Road Safety Corridor that we were a part of, a lot of work went into it, meaning we did a lot of community engagement, we did a lot of surveys, DUI messaging to see what would work with community members on that specific road. We had involvement from the neighbors posting lawn signs. We had that speed reduction. So there was a speed review, and it was passed to reduce that speed. So it was a lot of components that went into the London Road Safety Corridor on top of law enforcement as well, too.
Yeah, and I ask that because, clearly, as you've pointed out, and all of these things, it's about mitigating for bad behavior with an environment that that is a little gentler than the bad behavior the impact would be otherwise. And anything we can do, like Commissioner Seneca was saying, if your car is beeping at you because your seatbelt isn't, that you have to opt out of instead of opting in, right? All the behavioral science shows that people are more likely to just let a thing go if it's a default than if they have to opt out. And I know with a car with Bluetooth, if you have it turned on your phone, at least some phones, if you pick your phone up, it will automatically engage the do not disturb, I'm driving function. So I'm just trying to think of all the ways that that things can be put into place as a default setting where you have to opt out of the healthier, safer default setting. And that's where those education campaigns, I guess, come in with distracted. But distracted driving isn't just using your phone, right? It's fiddling with your whatever music player you're using, or the kids in the back seat, or you're juggling your breakfast and brushing your hair while you're on your way to work, right? It's all the things. Okay, great. Well, as always, great work. I'm so glad we have this program. I think every time we get the report, it justifies why we have it and that it's important, it's useful, and we get good data out of it. That if we had the resources, we could be applying to a lot of other stretches of county road. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Chair.
And Commissioner Senega.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say one thing before we leave here. I believe this is the last day you'll see Sergeant Ware wearing a deputy's uniform. He is retiring, and he'll be here tomorrow, but not in uniform. So thank you, Sergeant. We appreciate it.
Well, congratulations to you. And thank you again for the presentation. Unless there's anything else from administration, no, that concludes the public portion of today's meeting. I will read us into exec, and we'll let's take just 5 minutes and convene an executive session at 2:15. And I will note at the sound of my gavel, we will be recessing into executive session unless we have a need to come into public session. On the heels of that, we will not come back out until tomorrow morning, when we'll be back here in Harris Hall for a public hearing on proposed charter amendments and a work session from Public Works. So, actually, instead of saying 2:15, I'm going to say 5 minutes after my gavel is when we will convene, because it might take a while to read us in. Board of County Commissioners will meet in executive session for the following reasons: to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection, to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed, to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations, to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions. These executive sessions are held pursuant to ORS 192.6602D, ORS 192.6602E, ORS 192.6602F, and ORS 192.6602H, which allows the Board of Commissioners to meet in executive session for the purposes listed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are precluded from attending. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. Members of the news media are not allowed to tape, video record, or otherwise record an executive session. Verbatim notes are prohibited. No decision will be made in executive session. We do reserve the right to come back into public session should the need arise. I'll see you all in 5 minutes in the conference room.